how you create a bouncing ball in Photoshop timeline. So before we creating in the Photoshop timeline, let's do a quick review. So when you create a bouncing ball, you need to understand the animation principles. So here the pictures shows how a ball falls from the top to the floor and bounce back and falls and bounce back. And so this picture shows you the use of the arcs, timing, squash and stretch, and also the volume. And those are the important things you need to remember. So when you create the bouncing ball, so the arc is this dotted line, and the ball is bouncing. You don't see it in the animation, but it actually the animators plan ahead. And the ball falls from the top to the floor. It started to stretch because of the gravity, and then when it hits the floor and it squash, become wider and shorter, and then it bounces back. When it bounces, it stretches again, and then gradually goes back to the original form, and then following the same path, stretch and squash. And it's important to keep the volume. The volume is the proportion and the size of the ball, because this motion, it happens with the same ball. It didn't change. So even if stretch, it's still the same ball. Even if squash, it's still the same ball. So you need to keep the volume. When it gets longer, stretch, it should be a little bit of narrower, and then when it's a squash, it gets wider, it also gets shorter. So before you start creating a bouncing ball, you need to plan the arcs first, and then you plan how many frames you want your bouncing ball to have, and those numbers are the frames. Okay, and then remember, you have to pay attention to timing, and you start slow and then fast and then slow, slow, fast, and slow. And so here is the Photoshop timeline. It's nice you already designed the arcs. I'm gonna draw on top to show you how I plan it. So I'm going to use the same arcs you have right here, but maybe just for a little bit lower on the floor right here. I use a different color. Okay, and then when I draw the ball, make sure you draw the ball round. And when you stretch, maybe at this spot, it will be the biggest stretch, most dramatic. Maybe happens somewhere here when the gravity effects on the ball, and then when it falls on the floor, it's crash. I'm trying to keep the volume of the ball. This is the hardest thing for animators, but it takes time and practice. And then here, same thing, you stretch, gets longer, and then this is the original form, right? Try to draw a round ball. And then here you stretch again. And then you squash. Okay, and then I can plan how many frames I have. You can make just this line. I have more frame here. Maybe you get less, and then get a little bit more. Maybe run more here, and then slower first, and then faster, and get slower. When it gets slower, I have to add more frames, maybe, which means closer distance. I do the same thing right here. They're closer, and start to fall a little faster. And then maybe one more right here. So there's no formula for this. You have to try it out how it works. But remember, using slow, fast, slow, fast, slow, fast. That's the general rule, but how many you wanted to add in between, it's up to you. And then you can always go back to add more or draw less. It's yeah, you have to practice. This is you have to test that when you draw the animation. So right here is my plan, okay? And right now those are the regular layers. When I want to create animation, I need to have a new video layer. Also, it's important right here. This one I drew on top of yours. See this layer right here on the timeline? I need to make sure they line up right here together from the beginning. They should all line up. And before you create a new video layer, you're going to check if you selected enable timeline shortcut keys. That way you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard to go back and forth. The left and right arrow goes the previous frame and the next frame. And you also need to check and set timeline frame rate. Click on it if yours is not 12 and make sure you change it to 12 per second. Okay, and then you can also, once you create a video timeline, you can also enable your onion skin setting. So let's add a video timeline. Go to layer, video layers, find new blank video layer. So the new blank video layers, it's a video layer, but it's like a video track. You can add many drawings in there to create a video, create animation. So I did the same thing. This can be moved, okay? And then if it's not lined up, make sure you line it up. And I'm gonna draw all my frames in this video layer. I'm going to change it to animation. See the video layers? It has a little icon right here. This is the video layer. Those are the regular layers for image, for drawing. So I'm gonna change to animation. Oh, actually bouncing ball. And all my drawing I'm going to create here. And those are the guides right here. I'm going to change the opacity to make it a little bit of a less lower opacity so it doesn't distract when I am drawing. Okay, so lower opacity right here. So I'll go back to my bouncing ball layer. I'm gonna change my color. You can do whatever color you want, but just for easier for you to see, I'm going to use this blue color. I'm going to use a little gonna change my brush. I use my favorite brush here, and I'm going to make my brush size a little bigger. Let me see if okay, maybe even a little bit bigger more. Okay, all right, I think that's good. Actually a tiny bit more. Okay, that's perfect. You can always zoom in and zoom out, right? If it's easier for you to draw, to zoom in, use this tool to zoom in, and you can use the option key to zoom out. Okay, I already have my plan right here. I just need to draw on top of it. So on my first frame, remember you start right here. Make sure you move this one over. Actually this is fine, doesn't matter. It's okay. This is for playback. When you play, you will start play on the spot where this indicator is. So I'm just gonna move it back here. Oops. Okay, and okay, I don't know why this one shows here. Don't worry. So I'm gonna start here, create my bouncing ball on my animation layer. Gonna start my very first bouncing ball right here. I'm trying to draw slowly. And then let's go to next frame. I just did one drawing. I'm going to draw next frame, use my right arrow key. If I click on my right arrow key, oops. Actually, I was right. I have to move this one all the way here to start creating my bouncy ball. Make sure you move this indicator all the way here. And then you're gonna start with your first frame. And then when I go to next frame, you can either use your right arrow key or you can go to next frame. Okay? And if you want to see what you drew before, you can enable onion skin. Okay? So you see the blue color becomes lighter, but because it was before, it was not the drawing in the current frame. So I just it's something for me to look at it, but it doesn't affect my drawing, right? So this is where the first drawing is. If I want to go to next frame, go to, or you can use the right arrow key, next frame, and I'm gonna draw one right here. Right now it's going to be similar form. Make sure you keep the value. Okay, and then right arrow key, or you can use the option menu right here, go to next frame. I'm gonna repeat the same thing. Okay, and then go to next frame. You can also use right arrow key. So it starts to maybe stretch a little bit. So it gets a little bit of longer. Tiny, maybe just tiny bit. And the next frame, and gets a little bit more longer. So trying to keep the same value. The next frame is the one stretched the most. I'm gonna move this one up a little bit, and next frame. See, I'm following my plan. This line I made, the mark I made here, that's the plan. I'm going to draw another frame right here. Actually, this is going to stretch a little bit more too. Next frame. And then next frame. So this is going to really squash. Okay, and next frame. Is also stretch. Oops. And next frame, you stretch a tiny bit of less. Actually, have to redraw this one. Okay, and it started to go less stretch, so means a little rounder and shorter. And next frame, less stretch. Next frame, it starts to go back to the original round ball. Next frame. See, I had more frame on the top because it's slower. Next frame. Okay, and then here goes back to original form. Yeah, I think my ball gets a little bit of a slower or smaller already, but that's okay. You can always go back to fix it. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'll do more round here. It hasn't really stretched yet. Next frame. I use my right arrow key. Next frame. Next frame, you see I'm starting to making my ball stretches a little bit now. Next frame, stretch a bit more because it's getting closer to the floor and it become it will be affected by the gravity. And stretch a bit more now. Next frame. So each time I draw, you see I go to next frame, but then you see the frame before it will be lighter color. If it's the same color, it means you're at the same frame. It's not going to move. You have to go to next frame. Okay, let's keep stretching. Next frame. Oops, I'm going to redraw this one. Okay, so that's it. Okay, let's test it out, see how it looks like. I may have to make some changes. Once I test out, I realize maybe it's I have to make some changes. Maybe it happens very common in animation. You need to always make an adjustment. Okay, I'm going to turn the guidelines off, the two layers we had before, and turn it off. And then let's take a look. I'm going to turn off the onion skin because then they will not distract. So turn it off. So let's see if it works. So here is my last frame. If I only want to show right here, I'm going to move this indicator, this slider closer, so they don't play all the way. Those are the blank frames, so it hasn't drawn anything there yet. So I don't want to spend time watching the blank. So I'm just gonna move this one right here. So let's take a look how it looks like. Oh, I think there is one missing one frame. The last frame right here. I have to go one more. Yeah, because they only play where in between the sliders right here. If you put a slider right here, they will only play this one right here. They will not play what's after. Just how it is still there, but you just have to move the slider right here. Okay, let's try one more time. Okay. All right, so if you wanna, for example, right here, this one, I feel like this one can squash a little bit more right here. If you want to change it, you can just move your indicator this with the red line. You can move it right there, and then you can make changes. I feel like it should be scratched a little bit more. So I'm going to use my eraser to erase it out a little bit to make a little bit of a longer. Oops. So each frame only stays, maybe it's a little too long. Going to narrow it down a little, make it a little bit of a shorter. Okay. So you always go back and forth to check. And see if it works. If it's not, someone may lose its form. You may want to go back to fix it. Okay, and let's play it again. Okay. If I want to have this frame stay longer so I can see better, what I can do is I can duplicate this frame. I can go to layer, video layer, duplicate frame. So then this frame going to stay a little bit of longer. Let's try it again. See, you see this frame stay a little bit longer, so you have a little bit more time on it. So this is the adjustments you can make. You can always add more frame. For example, if I say I want to add a couple more frame right here, I turn on my onion skin. If I want to maybe add one frame right here, right before, between those two. So this one is after this frame, right? I feel like maybe I want to add one more. What can I do is I'm at this frame right here where you want to add in between, and go to the frame right before, and then you can go to layer, video layer, insert blank frame. Remember, it's insert blank frame, not a blank video layer. So blank frame. So then you have a new blank frame in between here. So you can add that to it. Make this a little smaller. So if I want to add one frame right here, okay, then let's play it again. You can turn off the onion skin. Okay, remember here, it's not including all my frames because my indicator, my slider right here, make sure it covers all the drawings you made. Okay, let's look at it again. Yeah, here you go. Here is your bouncing ball